Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Weekly Coder. I'm Chris, and at some point, I'm going to respect myself for calling myself the Weekly Coder, and I'm not going to become the quarterly coder, the quarter monthly coder, or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to get back on track at some point and just record videos on a weekly basis so that, you know, you guys have things to watch because after all, that's why you're here. That's why you're subscribed. That's why, um, yeah, that's the reason. So, without too much to without too much to say, no, without too much shit. Let's talk about what we're gonna talk about, right? Except for this episode has a special part to it, which is going to be at the end where I kind of give you an insight as to what I worked on many years ago as a special project. So stay tuned for that or fast forward through it. I don't know, I don't care. You guys are here for the tutorial, I'm assuming, and not to watch my project, but hey, you never know. Maybe you guys are interested and you want to see it. It's kind of cool. So, all that said, what are we going to do this week? We left off last week with scoring, so now we have a score thing that tells us what the score is, right? So we press play, and we have a score somewhere here, right? Do we? Oh, I thought we did. Why don't we? Pretty sure we added scoring. There's the canvas. The life score. Where is that? Why is that not showing up? Anybody know? Huh. It's definitely not showing up. Wait a minute. It's like it's outside of the camera view. Alright. It's interesting. When did that change? No, it's definitely. Look at us 4-3. And we did not have this set to 16-9, did we? 4-3 is more like it. Alright, so let's try that again. Let's press play. And yep, our score is working. So the game's cool, it works, but what we need is some sound. So the original game, we look at this. The way that it works, let's reset this. That was loud. So that is the sound for when that's like the intro sound, right? You're not even playing the game yet. That's just the sound the intro makes when you're loading the game. So then to start the game, you press enter, and then it loads that level start sound, okay? And once that sound is done, before the sound is done, you can't even move around. You have to wait for the sound to finish playing. So that's something we have to consider. So right now, there's a sound that you get when you hop around, and then there's another sound that you get when you get squashed by like a car, right? Like that. Okay, so we need to implement those two sounds. And then there's a sound that plays when you get to the home bay. Whoa, I forgot. So that sound also happens, the squashing sound happens when you're falling in the water. My opinion, those should be two different sounds, because these are definitely two different things. But we'll follow the game. Alright, so when we get to the home bay, there's another different sound, right? And there's one more other sound. Let's see if I can grab it for you guys. It's when you get an extra life, which is right there. You're gonna need that extra life. Come on. There you are. There, that sound. That's the only other sound that I can think of that exists in this game. I think everything else, like you die, it's a squashing sound. You get to home bay, it's a different type of sound. You get an extra life, that's another sound. And you hop around, that's a sound. Then there's an intro and a level start. And that's basically it. So what I did is I ripped all of these sounds out of this game. Okay? And I know that sounds a lot more technical than it actually is, but basically I recorded them through a loopback software on my Mac, just using Audacity, and so it's like they sound really good. So let me just play one for you, like the intro. I'll go and play this with QuickTime Player. So it sounds just like the game, right? So we'll use that. Alright, no, not again. So the first thing, let's create let's go to the project tab, and in our resources folder, let's create, actually not in the resources folder, in the assets folder, we're going to right click and create a new folder, and we're going to call it sounds. And then we're just going to copy all of these, okay, all of these, drag them into the sounds folder. Like that. Now if we go in here, we'll see that they are all in here, and these are very short. The intro and the level are like 7 seconds each, and then these other ones are like literally a 1 or 2 second long sounds, less than a second on some, like the hop is just super short. So I guess the easiest one to assign to begin with would be the hop sound, right? So what we might do in this case is we could go to the player, for instance. We've got our player here, right? Using the player script, and here are all the other players' variables. So would make sense if we added a sound like a hop sound, right? So let's go ahead and open up the player script. And right here where we're defining all of our other variables, let's go ahead and do public audio clip, and we'll call this hop sound. All right, so let's save that and close that out. Oops. And now if we look, and I'm just gonna like zoom in here, and see that we now have a variable or a property here that we can assign an audio clip to. So we'll go into our sounds folder and find the frog or hop, and we're just going to drag that onto here. Okay. So now we have an audio clip that we can work with in the player script. So now comes the fun part. How do we implement this? Like, how do we make the hop sound happen every time the frog moves, right? That's the trick. So I would say somewhere here in update position, right here, if we update the position, like so, maybe even every time we update the player's score, right? We're calling this on the HUD. So what we'll do is we'll create a new method. It'll probably be easier that way, and it'll say play hop sound. All right. So then every time we move, we're going to say play hop sound. Seems pretty simple so far, right? The truth is I have not been working in Unity for a while, and you know, they always say it's just like riding a bike, right? You never really forget. You just sort of need a push in the right direction sometimes. So in this case, I really don't remember how to actually play a sound. So I know what I want to accomplish. I know that I want to play a sound. So this part was easy, right? We knew that in order to play a sound, we needed an audio file. We needed a way to reference that audio file, which is why we created the property using the audio clip as the type of property to create so that we could assign that file to that property. And then we knew, okay, well, we know when we want to play it. We want to play it when the frog moves. Okay, so that's cool. And to make it easy and to only write code once, we're going to create a method to play that sound, and then we're going to call that method every time the frog moves. So now the only thing we're left with is actually figuring out what code do we want to write in order to play that sound, right? We have the reference to the sound. We just need to know how do we actually play it. Now, I have an idea, and I think it has to do with audio source. Let's see here. This, no. Let's try audio source. Well, oh. Can we just do audio source, which is a class, play clip at point? I mean, that's a possibility. We could do this, right? Then we just say hop sound, and it wants a position, obviously. And this is because if we want to play an audio clip in a 3D environment, for instance, we could tell it where we want that sound to play in our 3D space. Well, we don't really care where it plays, so we'll just pass in vector 3.0 as a position. So basically what that is, it's like a preset vector, which is just 0, 0, 0, right? So to me, this looks like it should work. So let's save this, and let's just see what happens. Let's open up our Unity and press play. Hey, look at that. Let's turn up the volume a little bit. Whoa, okay, well I just died. It should have been a splashing sound or a squashing sound. Alright. So that's that, and you know, if we die, if we get hit by a car. Alright, so where would we find that? Let's go back to the player script. Check collisions. Is safe equals true. Alright, so let's see if there's a player died. Here, the player died. Reset timer, reset position. So, since we're calling a whole bunch of methods here, let's call another one called play squash sound. And then we're going to call this also in here, play squash sound. And then we'll need to add another audio clip property, squash sound. Okay. And we'll do the same thing, audio source dot play clip with point, squash sound, and vector 3 dot 0. All right, and now we actually need to assign that audio file to the player. So let's select our player in the hierarchy. And let's go to our sounds and see we have a new property called squash sound. And it's going to be Frogger squash. So hopefully, if we're lucky, how about that? Hey, even works in the water just like it's supposed to. Nice. Okay. You know what I just noticed is that we don't even have like the splat animation, and it's not really an animation, it's just like it changes to a different image, and we're not actually doing that. So it looks kind of hacky, but it's definitely something that we can work on in the future. Either way, we're working on sound today, so let's not worry about graphics so much. So we've got hop, we've got squash. We can get the home base one, right? We know what happens when we get to home base, right? When we get to home base, the Frogger image changes from this Frogger to like a really cool looking Frogger, kind of big looking Frogger, whatever. So I think that also happens in the player class. So let's have a look here. Oops, player class, yes. But also we need to be in the player script. So let's go in here. Let's find turtle is home bay. All right, so if the collidable object is a home bay, then we are going to load the trophy prefab, and we're going to set its position, right? We're going to update the player score, and we're going to reset the timer, we're going to reset the position, and we're going to break out of there. We're going to say is safe as false. And in here, so we'll create another method. We'll call it void play home bay sound. That's audio source. We can't actually do that yet. We need to create the variable. So public audio clip home bay sound. And then we'll go to the bottom here. Whoops. And audio source dot play clip at point home bay sound vector 3 dot 0. And let's see, while we're at it, there's the collecting the extra frog. We might as well throw that in there, even though we don't have that in our gameplay yet. Let's go ahead and create it. Audio clip, extra life sound. Right, and we'll call that one play extra life sound. Audio source dot play clip at point, and that'll be extra life sound vector 3 dot 0. All right, and these are great because they're not being utilized. So that's kind of cool. It must be a new thing, or I've been away for so long that it's already old. So here, where we've decided that we're going to load the trophy prefab, we're going to also call the play home base sound method. So now that is no longer gray, only the play extra life sound, and we can't call the play extra life sound because we don't have that in our code yet. So it'll be uncalled for now. So we'll go back to Unity, and now we should have a cool little sound that plays when we get to the home bay. Those are gonna, no. No? We didn't assign a sound. See, it's always something, right? And this is telling us, it's already telling us there's a null reference exception, and that's because it can't find the sound. See home base sound? It's because we never assigned it. So we have to go to the player game object. See, we've got our properties here. So we'll go into our project tab over here and go to the sounds. And then we've got our Frogger, you know when this happens, right? Frogger home bay. And we've got our Frogger extra life. And the only other two we have are the intro and the level start. And those we're not going to do just yet. So let's click play. Now that we've got all the sounds assigned, we can go. Hey. Ugh. Game sounds like it's coming together now with sounds and stuff, right? Like sound and art is literally what bring games like this together. It's not even so much, well, you know, coding is, yeah, it's a big part of it, but to get a game like really off the ground, you need a good artist and a good composer for your music. It's gonna really help it stand out. You need someone who's really good at like level design and basic overall like game strategy. Like, you know, how do you get? Well, so we don't have like in the actual game. This would have triggered the I think the game start sound, and level 2 would have started. So we don't have level 2 implemented yet either, so that's just what it is. So we'll stop that for a second and actually think about what happens when we load the game. So we have to figure out a way to load the sound and make it so that you can't do anything when the sound loads. Actually, that's not true. Hang on. We're going to reset this. And I'm going to try to press enter when the sound is, like the intro sound is still going. Let's see if we can bypass the intro sound. We can't. Okay, but then... Alright, so pressing enter repeatedly is just going to restart the game starting sound. So, but... Alright, so here's the deal. Here's what happens. The intro sound starts to play. We can bypass that by pressing enter. And then we have to wait until the level starting sound is finished playing before we can move. Alright, so the first thing we'll implement is when the scene is loaded, and we should probably look at what we have for scenes. And that should be part of the, like, should be, what do we have for scripts here? We have car, player, turtle, collidable object. God. We don't even have a level class. And I think that is where, no. You know, we should, this is probably really bad practice, but man, yeah, in the interest of keeping things simple, we could just throw everything into the player class. So let's go ahead and add the rest of them. So we'll do public audio clip. Call this intro sound and public audio clip level start sound. And then we'll create, obviously, methods to play those sounds. Play intro sound, audio source, play clip at point, intro sound vector 3.0. Play level start sound. Jesus, what am I doing? Audio source play clip at point level start sound vector 3.0. All right. So the first one we're going to want to play is the intro sound. So I guess what we should do is we should create a Boolean. So we'll do private bool level started, and we'll set that equal to false. And then we'll do another bool. See, level started, and what else should we do? We should check to see if we need to somehow know if the sound is finished playing, right? So an easy way to do this, I guess, it's not an easy way to do it. Let's see what Google says. Unity, how to tell if sound is finished. Detecting end of audio clip. It's all in the scripting reference. Paul says it's all in the scripting reference. All right. Let's see what the Unity documentation says. So this is a scripting API, and we are on 2019.3. I don't know if that's the version we're actually on. 2019.2.16 F1. So this is probably close enough. I don't suppose that the audio source class is changed that much. So audio source.isPlaying will return false when audio source.pause is called. When you use audio source.play again back, it will return a true. So audio clip, audio source, get component, audio source. If audio source is playing, audio source.clip equals other clip. Audio source play. So, the only thing that bothers me about that is all right, so what we could do is we check. Actually, in the start, when this, all right, so let's just get rid of this bool for a second. So in the start method, the first thing we'll say, well, again, we'll just say level started equals false. The first thing we're going to do is play intro sound. And so we'll do another one that says private bool game started equals false. And in here, let's say game started equals true. So then we'll create check check game started, check level started. So level started. So there's two things going on here. We need to be able to bypass and we'll do this in this method, private void check bypass intro, and we'll say if input get key down key code dot and keypad enter return keycode dot return. If that happens, then we do audio source stop. What did that thing here do? Audio source dot clip play. So we could do audio source what if we just play clip at point level start sound and vector 3.0. So we stop the other one, which, well, I don't know if this is going to stop the other one. That's the thing. I mean, we could try it. Check level start. Let's comment this out for now. So just to kind of refresh, we are not using these booleans yet. We created these other audio clips. We're going to play the intro sound when the start method is called on the player class, which loads when the scene loads. So in the essence, that's when the game actually starts. And then we are going to check if, oh, we have to actually call this. Check bypass intro, and we're calling that in the update method. If the player presses enter at any point during the intro, we should also make this so this only happens if the game state is currently in game starting. So, man, I don't want to make it. I don't want to make a state. This is gonna get crazy. All right. Private bool game starting equals false. False and game starting equals true. So then if game starting equals true, as long as game starting equals true, we can check to see if the player's pressing enter. And if he is pressing enter, then we want to skip this and start playing this other sound. And then we also want to say game starting equals false, game started equals true. And then we'll do one more. Call this level starting equals false. And we'll say game started, level starting. What the hell? Oops, we actually didn't create it. It's up here. Private bool level starting equals false. Level starting equals true. I don't even know if we need this variable. Oops, wrote that wrong. So I don't even know if we need this because we have game started, and game started isn't true at any other time other than after we've already started the game. Once the game is started, we know that the level is starting. And we know when the level has started when the audio source isn't playing anymore. So we say check level started, and then we can do private void check level started, and we can say in here if level starting is true. Right, so if the level's starting, then we say if audio source is, obviously we need to instantiate it. So now we're like being nuts here. So we'll do another private audio source, and then we'll do in the start, we'll just say audio source, audio source, the variable we created, equals audio source. That's not right. How did they instantiate that? Get component. I totally forgot about get component. Told you guys it's been a while. Whoa, I lost my place. Alright. So it's audio source equals get component audio source. So we're getting the audio source component of this game object. And so then since we have this, we can change all of our these. We can just say audio source, I should have named it something else. Audio source dot clip equals start sound. Start sound and audio source dot play. All right, same thing here. This is going to be intro sound. Audio source dot clip intro sound and audio source dot play extra live sound, audio source dot clip, extra live sound. Sorry that I'm making you guys go back and do this, but this is, I think, actually the preferred way to do that. Alright, then we have home base sound, audio source dot clip equals home base sound. And just like I always say, there's always more than one way of doing things when you're writing code. Squash sound, audio source dot clip equals squash sound, audio source dot play. And just because I want to stay consistent here, let's find this other, which is right here, play hop sound. We're just going to cut that, so Control X, Command X on a Mac, and I'm just going to paste that down here so that all of our audio clip methods for playing are basically down here. So audio source dot clip equals hop sound, and audio source dot play. Right? And we don't have to actually add private because I think they're private by default. The only way to enhance this a little bit and not have so much code would be to, instead of say play hop sound or play squash sound or play home base sound, you could literally just say play sound and then pass in the sound as a variable. And then you could just do audio source.clip equals whatever the variable name is, and then just say play. That way you would have one method instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 methods. We're not doing it because we've already written most of this code. So now that we're here, we can say if level starting equals true, meaning that the level has started, and if audio source that is playing we want to say if not is audio source playing, or yep. Level started equals false. True. Level started equals true. So then we're going to reset all the other variables, right? We're going to say, no. We're going to leave all the variables as they are right now. Level starting equals false. So this doesn't run anymore. And here in update position, we're going to not allow, so we're going to say if level started equals true, then that is the only time we're going to allow any movement to happen. So we're going to copy everything that's in the update position, and we're going to paste it in between here. So if the level hasn't started, if this isn't true, then we're not even going to bother checking for any movement updates. I mean, at first glance, this all makes logical sense, but hell, I don't know if this is going to work or not. So we'll try it. So let's go in, and first I think we need to actually go here. Yep, we need to assign our sounds. So we're going to grab the intro and throw that into the intro sound property, and then level start goes to level start sound. And let's play and see what happens. Nothing. Did we actually ever tell it to play the sound? We can't move. And we have an issue, which is there is no audio source attached to the, obviously. Alright, so we need to add an audio source component to our player. Hang on, let's stop this. And let's add an audio source. And this won't have a clip or anything attached to it. And we're not going to mess, we're going to not have a play on awake. And everything else we're just going to keep the same. So press play. Alright, we can't move. We press enter. We shouldn't be able to move here. Okay, so there is something happening here. Number one, the sound is way too loud. We can't. And this also doesn't work. So we need to look and see what's happening here. How did we do this? Can we just say stop? Right? So we want play level. Why is this grayed out? This should not be grayed out. Play level start sound. Play level start sound. Why? Play level start sound. Okay, so we want to make sure that we, I guess, audio source dot stop, audio source dot stop. So we're gonna stop playing whatever it's playing. So that we don't have like multiple things playing. Right? So let's go to Unity and see what happens. I don't know why this is so loud. It's crazy. Alright, so it's not letting me start. Okay, so that actually worked. So let's try this again. Alright, so I still can't move. I press enter. Still can't move. And I can move now. Okay, so this seems to be working now. So we can't make any movements, but we can press enter, which then basically stops the intro and starts the level start sound. And then once that's done, it actually lets us move around. Okay, so I'm gonna just like go over all of this because I know it was a lot and I was kind of jumping around. So let's look and see what's happening. So we've got all of our audio clips created here. Okay, so these are just variables that we made that are properties in the inspector that we can assign sounds to, and they are of type audio clip telling us that, hey, we need to assign a sound to this. So at that point, we said, all right, well, we have these booleans that we need for checking to see if the game had started, if the level started, if the game is starting, or if the level is starting. And then we actually took and created a variable for an audio source, which we then added as a component to our player class. We created two new methods, one for checking the bypass intro and one for checking if the level started. The checking of the bypass for the intro is basically just telling us, hey, if the game is starting, right, is true, which is, oh my god, these emails are driving me nuts. Game starting is true, right? That is set right away in the start method, okay? We're also grabbing the audio source component from the player class and assigning it to the audio source variable. We're then setting our variables, our booleans, right? We're setting level started to false, level starting to false, and game started to false. Because the level hasn't started yet, the level isn't starting, the game hasn't started, but the game is starting, right? We're setting that to true here. We're saying, hey, the game is starting. We need to know that for our method where we're checking to see if we can bypass the intro. The only time we know that the intro is playing is when the game is actually starting, because that's when we're calling the play level, or the that's when we're calling the, where is it? Yeah, play intro sound. When the game starts, we play intro sound, okay? So then we check to see, hey, is game starting true? And if it is, then we want to check to see if the player pressed return. If the player presses return, we want to play the level start sound. We're going to say the game isn't starting anymore because it has started now. So then we set the game started to true, so we know that the game actually started. And we set level starting to true because the level is now starting, right? We're now at the point where we've played the intro for the game starting, but the level is actually starting now. So when we check to see if the level started, we need to know if level starting equals true. And here it actually is true, right? Because we bypassed it. And the other time it's true is when, no, there is no other time when it's true. The only time when it's ever true is when the player presses return. And that is not just for the bypassing the intro, but it's also whenever the player decides to press return. So it could be during the intro playing or when the intro is finished playing, because we don't actually do anything when the intro finishes playing. We don't check to see if it's done because we don't care. Because the only way the player can actually start the game is by pressing return. So when the player presses return, we get that check to say, hey, we're going to say the level's starting now. So then, in this method, we're checking to see if the actual level is starting. If level is starting equals true, then we say, hey, is the audio source currently playing? If it's not, right, we're saying, hey, it's not playing right now. That's cool. We're going to set level started to true, and we're going to say level starting equals false. That means that this isn't going to run anymore. And level started is true because our level is done. Our audio source that is currently playing that level starting sound is finished playing, okay? And we're setting this level started to true so that in our update position, when we want our Frogger to move back and forth around the screen, we're saying, hey, is level started to true, right? Is this level started? Meaning, are the intro sound done playing and the level start sound done playing, okay? This will be important too for when we get to like adding second level. Like when we add the next level, because what happens is when you fill in all the trophies in the home base, when you fill in that last trophy, it's going to play that level starting sound again to start to basically kick off the second level, and we're going to get into that same situation where we won't going to move our player around. So for now though, let's keep it the way it is. Everything is working. We got sound. So I know this tutorial is probably a lot longer than you're used to with me. I don't know if you guys like this. I wanted to try something new. right? So this tutorial was completely not rehearsed. I knew that we were going to do sound, and that was it. I even used Google to look something up. So like I didn't actually go through and script any of this. I didn't you know I didn't pre-make this and then go back and look at notes and was like, oh, this is how we're going to do it. So that means that this was not as structured as my tutorials usually are, which is kind of like following point A to point B to point C. This was kind of like going from A to Z to R to T to B to, whatever. But eventually we got there. We finished it. And then I kind of did a walkthrough at the end to kind of just cover everything and go through what we did. And, I don't know if this is preferable to you guys, because then you kind of get to see my process for going through things and figuring out how to do a certain thing. Um, and this just kind of goes along with my saying. I always say this, and a lot of newcomers, a lot of new programmers out there, they get discouraged because they feel like they need to know everything right away, and that if you don't know the entire syntax, if you don't have the entire Unity API memorized, then you suck at programming. You just don't know how to do anything. Well, if that were true, Stack Overflow wouldn't exist. Google would just be like gone, and everything on the internet would be porn. So there's no right way. There are better ways. There are ways to optimize code, but in the end, if you get whatever you want accomplished out of the code that you're writing, then doesn't that mean that you've created a working product? I mean, yeah, sure, it can be optimized to run quicker, better, faster, more efficient, but in the end, if the ends justify the means, then yeah, okay. Does that make you a bad programmer, a good programmer? Does it really matter in the end? I mean, if you make a game and it's great and everybody loves it and it runs wonderful, do you think anybody's going to care if you used an if statement or a switch statement or a for loop or a while loop? Um, I'm sure there are instances where one is better than the other, one is more efficient than the other, one is cleaner than the other, one is more preferred than the other, tabs versus spaces, all that bullshit. Anyways, so all I'm trying to say is that I'm trying to work out how to best present you guys with material. I think I kind of like this approach where I just kind of go through and figure things out on the way rather than sitting and planning and then going back and doing it again. But you guys need to let me know. I can't just, I mean, I can do whatever I want. It's my channel. But you guys are my viewers, so I want to try and give you what you want. So, not everything you want, but mostly the content in the way that you best can absorb it. So hopefully this was, valuable to you guys. And hey, stay tuned for the special look at one of my old projects. And I'll see you guys next week, hopefully. No promises, but I will try my best. See you later. Hey, so this is a project I've been working on. Actually, a long time ago, I started working on this project. And I say a long time ago loosely because I would say that maybe, I don't know, like 3, maybe 4, wow, maybe 5 years ago I started working on this. This was when I first started thinking about making the Tetris tutorials. And I was trying to come up with new concepts for creating a Tetris game. So I came up with this. I started building it out, and I guess my artistic skills got, the better of me. The lack of artistic skills, I should say, because I have none. So I think that that's why this project probably never went anywhere. And maybe I also ran out of ideas. But let me just show you what this plays like. So let me press play here. And so essentially, it's Tetris, right? So as you can tell, it's 3-dimensional or 2.5D. So it has some depth. And see, there's shadows and stuff. You can rotate the pieces, and then as you set them down, they actually light up. And there's a fade in effect for them to light up. So there's like a timer that runs that tells you how long you have to move the piece until it's actually firmly down. Okay, so that's when that fade in, fade out happens. And if you'll notice that this particular game of Tetris um, seems a little strange, right? Because the pieces are falling from the center, and the board is much wider than a usual Tetris board. So there's a reason for that, and that is because this particular Tetris board does something special. It actually does this. So this Tetris board rotates, and in multiple directions actually. So you can go this way. And that danger that you just saw come across, I'll show you what happens in a second here. Let's see. I'm going to try to get... First, I want to show you the concept of this entire game here, is to get a Tetris not just in one direction, but in all four directions. So right now I'm going to show you how to clear just a row, or two rows. See how these, the row at the bottom there and the row to the right, they're about to be cleared together. So this one's highlighted, and they just cleared together. See how that like cleared both the rows? It's kind of cool, right? So now I'm going to continue to play until we get another warning that comes across. There we go. And these happen at random intervals. So now if you look down at the bottom right, you'll see that there's a block with a 10 on it. So, and that block is counting down. Every time I put down a tetramino, the block counts down by 1. So what happens when it gets to 1 is it has a specified radius that it'll actually blow up pieces that are around it. So watch this. There. See, now we have just lost a whole bunch of pieces. So that's what that does. So I think, like, all in all, this is probably a pretty cool concept. I think it needs a lot of polish, maybe. I don't really know how to finish it. It's just something that I've worked on and thought about for a while, and this is kind of how it looks when you lose the game. Right? Everything just kind of gets destroyed. Okay, so that is where, like, I took, you know, once I completed my Tetris tutorials that I was showing you guys, and probably during the time that I was making them, actually even before then, because the Tetris tutorials were originally created for a class that I was teaching at college. So, and they were not as fleshed out as they are now on YouTube. Now, like, they take you pretty much through the entire, creating an entire Tetris game, like all the way down to creating like the little ghost tetramino that follows you around. So, this was created before I actually uploaded all of these YouTube tutorials on how to create Tetris. So before I even started my YouTube channel, I actually was working on this. Alright guys, so that's it. That's the game. There's not much else to it. The scripts are... Let's not get into the scripts. There's a lot of code there, believe me. A lot of confusing code, a lot of comments. So, which is why I say always comment, right? Because if you ever look back at a project that you did like 3 to 5 years ago and you don't really remember how you did something, you just kind of wrote a lot of code to figure out, you know, hey, oh, wow, this is working now. And you didn't comment as to, oh, well, this is why it's working, then you come back and you look at it and you're not going to get it. You're just going to be so confused. It's just not even going to make any sense. So, I recommend always commenting on your code all the time. Comment everything. It doesn't hurt ever. I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial and the special look at my project. And again, like I feel like I'm always making empty promises here by saying that there'll be another video next week, and I really, really want there to be. So I'm gonna do my best to get you guys that. Emails. My job has me traveling out of state a lot now to work at the remote branches that we've got. Setting up equipment, network infrastructure, that kind of thing. So there's a lot going on personally, work-wise for me. So my time is split like 1,000 different ways, and sometimes I feel guilty for sitting in here, and it takes a good 5 to 6 hours to put one of these episodes together, if not more. There's research involved, there's editing involved, and just everything that kind of goes into putting this whole thing together to make it presentable. So I feel guilty. I sit in here, I work, and then my family is like out in the living room having fun, and I'm just in here creating these tutorials. So I wanted to take another opportunity and say thank you to all my patrons. I saw that there's a lot of new patrons this month. Actually, I think I've had the most patrons this month than I've ever had. So I know, like, I looked at my Patreon yesterday, and there were 12, and I was like, wow, 12 people, that's a lot. It's probably not compared to some other channels, but I do have to say that I'm pretty stoked. I'm happy that you guys think of me that way and that you guys support me. You certainly don't have to, so I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I'm going to do my best to continue to create content. That's what it's all about. So hopefully I'll see you guys next week. That is my goal. All right. So just know I am thinking that is what I want to do. I really, really do. So I'm going to do my best. All right. See you guys soon.